Oh, some funny noises coming from the other lines. Anyway, this is a pod full of saints, a podcast for the supporters of St Albans City Football Club by supporters of St Albans City Football Club. I had to change it, Lee, because you mimicked me last week. Right, yes, the laughing merrily there is Lee Wood.
Chaps, how are we doing? Are we well?
Very well. Jake, you had some football last night. You were the lucky one. We'll come on to that later. A good evening to you.
Yes. Hello, Lee. Hello, Dave. I thought that was quite an inspiring little rallying call you were going about to start then. I almost felt inspired there, but hello, everyone. Hope you're all well.
Enthusiasm's gone. Right, we're looking back on one game, looking forward to two games, and probably killing time doing other things as well. We start back at Clarence Park last Saturday with the Saints' home game with Tonbridge Angels, National League South. 2-0 up at half-time. We managed to conjure up a 3-2 defeat. A third successive season, Tonbridge have won 3-2 at Clarence Park, which is a rare enough thing. 145th 3-2 defeat, and they seem to have contributed most of them. 2-0 up at half-time. But you look at our two goals. The penalty was Shaun scored. It was a soft decision. The second goal, what on earth was Tariq Hinds doing? The Tonbridge defender runs across his box and gives the ball to Ryan Blackman. Yeah, Ryan, get your first home goal at Clarence Park, and he duly accepted. But apart from that, we had Rasulu's effort, his little back heel after a great play by, was it Jack James, wasn't it? Rasulu's back heel got the ball cleared off the line by, who was it, Jordan Higgs, when he should have left the ball. Everybody fought for Shaun Jeffers to score. But apart from that, I can't really remember Jonathan Henly making a save for Tonbridge. He wasn't called upon into action. Whereas, particularly in the second half of the other end of the pitch, it was like the Alamo, wasn't it? 3-2, well, two goals we got were soft. Boy, does that 3-2 flatter us. Is that how it felt behind the goal?
Yeah, Lee doesn't want to talk about it. I mean, I think let's be honest, it's the tale of the second half again, isn't it? I don't know what we want to call it, a curse, the woes, the troubles, whatever we've got going on at the minute. It is the second half displays are really quite bad. We touched upon it a few weeks ago, didn't we? And we said, is it just something going on? Is it going to revert itself? But it's the same again on Saturday, wasn't it? I mean, I know we were 2-0 up at half time, and I say we weren't exactly storming ahead, were we? But going into that half time, no one I spoke to felt particularly uncomfortable. Most of us were very happy with the lead that we probably didn't deserve, as you say, based upon chances. But then come out in the second half, and we just played like maybe not a totally different team, but it felt like all our energy and enthusiasm in the team had gone again, and there was no desire sort of press onto that front forward, and it was just disappeared, didn't it? And to be honest, once Tonbridge got their first goal back, it felt inevitable, didn't it?
Yeah, I thought it did. Did it to you as well, Lee?
Yeah, I mean, if I go up to Mrs. Wood and call her fat, she kicks me in the knackers. If I keep going back and doing that, the same thing happens. But then over the course of time, I begin to learn from my mistakes. And I'm not entirely sure City are doing that at the minute. This is what come on, Mr. Statman, this is the second or third time that we've let a 2-goal lead at home this season. I mean, I don't know what's going on, fellas. It's the same old thing. That first goal goes in. I look at Jake. He looks at me. And we know what's coming. But the thing is, even Nobby said he knows what's coming. And he's got absolutely no way of stopping it. I think the defence had a bit of a shocker. Out of position, out of their depth at times, outpaced, I think is the key thing for me that I picked up on. There's no leadership there. I mean, when you're up against it, you're looking for people around you to sort of galvanise the rest of the team. I don't see any leaders there. I see an allocated captain, but I don't see any leaders. And I think that's what we're lacking. We're looking around for inspiration from somewhere, and I don't see any nuggets of gold to take out of the game. It's just so dependent on attitude, the football game, isn't it? And it's so dependent on application. And at the minute, we're not getting either of that. I don't know what to say. We were despondent. Jake and I were in the pub, shock after the game, and there was a massive sort of post-mortem going on about the inevitable Should Nobby stay? Should Nobby go? Personally, I think it's too early for that sort of talk. But he can't keep. Not he. The team can't keep serving up this inadequacies of what they call a football match. It's poor show.
It's funny what you say about the captains league, because a little group I was with, we got to talking about captains during the game because the same reason. We just don't feel as much leadership on the pitch. When things are going wrong, we don't seem able to change it, whether it's not coming from a dugout or not coming from the captain, but we don't seem able to change it. So we got talking about former City captains. John Watt came up favourably. Dave Neville came up favourably. I know it before the time of you two. But we are desperate for a good captain, perhaps. But also, you mentioned the lack of speed, or speed undoes us. And we said it this season. This side is not the quickest in the league. And when they brought on, was it Francis Mapulo on about the hour, for the next 20 minutes, they were running us ragged. And the longer the game went on, more Shaun Shields came into it, former City player. And he's such a wonderful player. We know how good he is. And we couldn't touch him in that second half. He was winning balls, laying balls off, going past players, putting in crosses, doing all the things we're looking for our wide men. And we're not getting it. Certainly not to the level that Shaun was doing it. And I know he's 31. Try and get him back, for goodness sake. And his goal was typical. Lovely bit of skill, composure, so much composure in the box. And then the shot, it may have taken a slight deflection off, I think it was Jack James. It was just unfortunate, but it was a lovely goal. But they're able just to keep coming at us. You mentioned it there, Lee, and we're not able to stop it. Has Nobby got to change his players? Has he got to change his tactics? It's got to be one or the other. It may have to be both. Because to me, 3 at the back is leaving us so exposed, and these sides are loving it. We mentioned it on the pod last week, probably mentioned it before, and you mentioned it again then. Attack us and we crumble. And funny enough, I sent that in an email to somebody who does the stats for the league. I said, if teams get at us, and he said, what happened? I said, well, as we said, teams attack us and we crumble. Have you got an answer, Jake?
Certainly not. If we're honest. But to be fair, I mean, I think those are good points. I'd argue that Nobby did actually try to change his team and shape and formation a little bit on Saturday. At times, it felt like we were more at four at the back, because, of course, he went with Mitch, Akanbi, and Jeffers, which was actually quite a pleasant surprise before the game. That really upped the mood. And to be fair, 2 goals ahead at halftime, couldn't really, complain about that. But defensively, I don't know what he could do, to be honest, at the minute. I mean, like you say, the only idea possibly is play some more defensive midfielders potentially in front of the back 3 or 4. But other than that, I don't know what else he can do with the players at the minute, because they are getting so exposed. And as you say, if you compare the 2 teams, the ability of them to run at us and get in behind and cause trouble, it was almost reminiscent of a certain St Albans City team from 12 months ago, when we had some fullbacks who would be willing to do that quite a lot of the time and cause trouble. We had other players that could do it. We just don't have those players in the squad really, do we, at the moment? Maybe Dylan Farge, but he's on the bench most of the time at the minute. It's really difficult. And I do wonder if the defensive issues do actually come down a little bit to not having Michael Johnson behind them as well. I think MJ is a huge miss at the minute. I think Sam Bentley has made some good saves, but I don't think he's a commanding figure back there at the minute. And combine that with the other defensive issues we've had, along with Michael Clark as well, who I think is a big miss. I think it's just a combination of things that are proving very difficult for Nobby to fix at the minute.
I think Sam Bentley's been absolutely superb, and I think the problems are in front of him. I don't think if you call it a lack of command in that box, I know what you mean. From a young player, it'd be surprising if you did get it. It'd be great if you did. But I don't think that's really cost us any goals or put us under pressure. Maybe it is. Maybe we need to analyse it a bit more. I think the problems are in front. A good thing about the defensive midfield, as you mentioned, but we're not creating anything, are we? Not creating enough. We were pleased when you mentioned Akanbi, Weiss and Jeffers up front on Saturday. But what did they have to feed off? Virtually nothing. We weren't creating. People say, oh, Shaun didn't score in natural play, get him off again. No, we've got to create. If you don't create, we're not going to score, unfortunately. And it was woeful going forward, I'm afraid.
It was, and I quite like the fact that that David Noble is prepared to sort of try different things now. I think it has got to that stage, having the three up front, like he used to have last year with Banton and Mitch, and then sort of Shaun feeding in sort of through. I don't mind playing those three because in the first half, it didn't affect the balance of the team too much. You know, everyone was still sort of doing their roles. I mean, look, relatively solid. The thing is, touching on a point we made a bit earlier on, if you know that your back line isn't the quickest, you don't leave massive gaps in between them and the midfield. You've got to become compact. I mean, we weren't doing that. And, you know, giving the opposition so much time on the ball and space to pick out their passes was absolutely shocking. I'm not too despondent. He's probably the wrong, but I'm glad that Nobby's looking at other ways to sort of try and change things up. Whether we get new personnel in, that's a different argument because I think he's got to be dealt the hand that he's played, right? So the thing is, playing the three up front, I didn't mind. Akanbi had a good chance at the back stick early on in the first half. He probably should have connected with, but everyone looked to get involved at any one point. I just think it's the same problems, and we just aren't learning from our mistakes. Jake, your point about defensive midfielder, put more of them in, yes, but then what do you sort of take away from elsewhere around the pitch? It's not a perfect puzzle, mate, is it? And we've sat in the pub and we've deliberated, and there were 12 of us in there after the game on Saturday, and no one had the right answer, which is, I think, it just shows just how hard the management game is. And I've got faith in Nobby to sort of try and turn it around, but he's got to be given the ammunition to do that. And I do think we do need some fresh faces because I'm not entirely sure the personnel at his disposal are the best fit for the way he wants to play.
One assumes they were his signings in the summer. So he's got to hold his hands up and say, oh, maybe I didn't quite get them all right, which is nothing unusual. It happens because you don't exactly know what you're getting with these players. But it is something to look at. Sam Brown came back Saturday unexpectedly. We didn't know. Again, no news what's happening with the injured players, who's available, who's not. Is Ben White close to coming back? Because that gives us more options as well. We just don't know. And it's so frustrating. So when you're trying to work out a team for a future game, we don't know. Because supporters are kept in the dark. Of course, Sam is very much a defensive-minded left back. Doesn't like to go forward, likes to just keep possession, which Nobby wants, but it's all in our half. And we need to be doing it further up the pitch.
Yeah. Agreed, but then I just worry about, these players as well. Defensively, we're just not doing it either, are we? Even if these players are trying to keep the ball and maybe they don't offer as much going forward, like fullbacks have done previously for us. And there's not much really offered defensively at the minute. I know not the same defence. I know these players did play a part in quite a decent clean sheet run we had, back in September. And we do hark back to that. We have done in recent weeks saying these players are capable of doing it. Brilliant. And we've got the injury issues. And I think the Michael Clark, like I said earlier, is a massive miss. But you just have to think at the minute, I know this is really simplistic as well. And it's not football really. But when you think about the general vibe and the momentum in the team at the minute, it is really, really negative, isn't it? I think. It's just so, it feels porous almost. And I think if you combine that with Nobby's post-match again on Saturday, which I felt like was a real struggle for him at times. I don't know what you guys thought of it. It's just the general vibe, and these players probably going to training thinking, can we actually turn this around? And it has to be mindset, surely, partly at least, because the second half displays recently have been diabolical at times almost, haven't they? The way we can capitulate. I know a lot of it is to do with teams attacking at us, but there must be a mindset part of it as well.
Funny enough, I agreed with quite a bit of what Nobby said on Saturday. A few things as well, which I thought maybe not. But when a manager stands there and clearly hasn't got any answers, it is worrying. I agree. I think it's far too early to think about changing him, but we do need to see some improvements. 2 wins in 9 for us now, and it was frustrating that last night's match at Hampton was off, but it may have served us a favour. They were on such a hot streak of form. The last thing we needed was to go there and get another hammering, which is what some people would have been expecting, of course.
Yes, And I think that what Jake's alluded to there in terms of the players' body language and their mindset is absolutely spot on. But I think when you are in times of trouble, you're looking to the manager or the coaching staff to sort of inspire you and guide you, etc. But I don't feel that's particularly forthcoming with Nobby. It did strike me in his post-match that he's struggling for answers. But the thing is, you're going to keep giving the ball away. You're just going to keep putting pressure upon yourself. I think, Jake, you're absolutely spot on, mate. So are you implying that it's the players' sort of physical demeanour that sort of bit lethargic, or is it just maybe something mentally that's sort of happening there?
I think probably mentally. I mean, it's hard to say, isn't it? But just when, like we said earlier, when that first goal goes in, you can almost see it coming, can't you? You just know that there's more goals coming, and part of that is because of recent weeks. But it just feels like the players don't really have that winning, maybe it sounds like a cliche, but a mindset at the minute to hold themselves over the line. And again, that probably links back to what you said earlier about leaders on the pitch. Maybe it's just everything at the minute is almost like a worst case scenario where everything is just going against us. And the longer this poor run continues, well, I say it's only a couple of defeats, isn't it? That's the mad thing. It wasn't that long ago since our last win, but just the general momentum around the team has just totally disappeared, hasn't it, in the last few weeks? And now it just feels like we're really struggling.
I think you're right about that psychological thing, Jake, because it was only a few days earlier when we let in 4 goals in next to no time at Braintree. So as soon as they did let that one in, yeah, it did hit them, and they were worried it's going to happen, and could do nothing to change it. And Tonbridge, crikey, they were what, 2 points behind us before the game. Now they're just 2 points out of the playoffs. So another excellent result last night down at Eastbourne. Things can change very quickly, so we can quickly get back up there as well. We know that, and we've got a favourable home game next Tuesday. You'd have thought to try and do it, but we've got to go in with a positive, clear mindset, haven't we? We've got to somehow wipe out what's happened in the last few games.
Yeah, and it won't be easy. But don't forget, we're going to lose games, but it's the manner in which we're losing them.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the last two results. Braintree was just horrendous. Park that, because that just still upsets me. But Saturday, it's just a different type of defeat. Just as demoralising and just as bad on the eyes, but it was just a different type of defeat. And at the minute, we're struggling. We are struggling, and yes, our position may say different, but we've got to get ourselves in a position to win these games and see these games out and sort of grind in and dig in. And maybe it's going to need, a gutsy 1-1 draw or something just to start that momentum going forward.
And of course, we have got that problem. The goals we got last week were gifted and not created by ourselves, which is, well, you could say a penalty to build up, maybe. But that's a worrying thing, because last few games we've stopped creating again, whereas we had a little spell where we were creating. So somehow we've got to get that back as well.
Yeah, I think like we said earlier, we do have firepower up front, don't we? Unlike some teams that often really struggle in seasons that don't have maybe a goal scorer potentially, we do have at least one, maybe two, arguably three if it can be, finds a bit of form at times. You've got 3 players there that can find the back of the net. It's just we've got to actually get the ball to them as well. I mean, we talked about Shaun earlier. I know the penalty probably was soft, but then he's probably the only player in that City team that would actually be able to win a penalty like that in the way he got himself in front of the ball, with the ball in front of the man. I don't mind that, to be honest, at the point we're at in terms of needing a bit of luck. But then unfortunately we got that luck, but then we just threw it away anyway in the second half. So we have those weapons. We've actually got to get the ball to them and create things. And that is where we're missing the likes of Zane Banton again, isn't it? And other players probably at the minute are really missing. Maybe someone like Dylan Farge as well, who hasn't featured much in recent weeks. And also, I think we sort of hinted at that central midfield area. Do we have a player in there that can sort of get things going there from the forward position? It's really hard to say at the minute.
I knew you'd cheer us up, Jake. Right, do we move on from that one now and look at what didn't happen last night? Away to Hampton and Richmond Borough. Game was called off a bit late. In case the referee's watching, I want to get ready now. Yep.
Isn't that bad luck, Tavs? Opening up an umbrella inside?
He's watching
Not you need it,
City.
mate.
I was going to say, he's watching Storm City. Bad luck. Good grief. Thankfully, Jake, thank you for calling and telling me the game was off at about 5:45. It's annoying because the M25 looked clear. It wasn't going to rain. It's 10 degrees, not that cold a night. Ideal. Let's get it out of the way. Let's give them another 6-0 hammering and get moving on. I think we've all seen that photo of the pitch. It looks wet in one little bit. Where the line over goes, it'd be quite entertaining to watch him go. But crikey, did that look suitable for postponing a game?
To be honest, mate, you should have explained to the referee that our players don't normally sort of get out as wide as that, so he probably wouldn't affect us in the first place. But it did look. I mean, come on, we've played on worse than that, right? Surely.
Winter football, isn't it a winter sport? You ain't going to get pristine conditions all the time, particularly at our level. Anyway. Was there any feedback anywhere, Jake, on message boards, Twitter, or any of that sort of stuff?
Yes, a lot of replies to Hampton's announcement of the postponement on Twitter. A lot of replies. If you do go on their Twitter and look at that tweet, or X, whatever it's called these days, you'll be able to see the picture that someone's posted from the ground of what the area that was apparently. And it is, yeah, it was. I mean, out of all the reasons to call off a game, as you said, I'm pretty sure we've played on worse. Probably at Hampton, actually. I mean, their pitch isn't always the best in the winter itself. And, to get it called off at, I think, officially 5:30, when a lot of Saints fans were already travelling and making their way either across London or from elsewhere, including myself. Dave, you almost got there. I mean, I should just let you just get there and then you'd find out.
Oh, that would have been golden. You should have had. Oh, that would have been fantastic.
I know. Well, I called him because I thought he was actually going to be closer, but it turns out he'd only just left. So really didn't gain much from that. So yeah, we ended up in London as a thank you to the referee for that. But yeah, the whole thing just a bit of a mess, isn't it? And to be getting games called off already, I mean, it hadn't rained for about 5 hours. Doesn't bode well for the fixture congestion a bit later on in the season, does it?
Well, the referee was Emily Heaslip. We had her for a 2-0 defeat at home to Bath. That's appropriate, isn't it? Bath, water. Yeah. Good Lord. Anyway, so we don't want her again. Sorry, Emily. Don't take it personally, but it gets you thinking about games you've been to and they've been called off when you've got there. We had it at Bromley in, I think, 77, August, second Saturday of the season. Suddenly a cloud burst just around Hayes Lane. Game called off. There's the one at, where was it, Redditch, when we were in the Southern League about 10 years ago. We walking in, the referee's walking out. Crikey. It's been a few, hasn't they, down the years? You turn up and the game's off.
There's one other you're thinking of, you probably haven't thought of, but you may be missing, is Hungerford. Probably, 7-8 years ago?
Yeah.
I think called off at 3:15. That was an enjoyable afternoon. After the ref had let all the teams go through all their warm-ups and everything, it hadn't rained since he'd got there. And then at 3:15, sorry lads, game's off.
I fancy it.
yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's the whole thing is a bit of a mess. I know Hampton fans aren't happy with their club of how they handled it. They felt they should have done a bit more on that area to maybe try and avert this possible risk. I know most people aren't happy with the referee as well. All round, just a bit of a disaster.
There was one at AFC Totton as well. Again, in the Southern League days, I think the pitch was frozen when we got there. It was called off. Unfortunately, I made arrangements to stay down in Southampton overnight, so I went to watch film, The Artist, I think it was called. What a great film that was. Brilliant. Better than the football would have been anyway.
Like Barry Norman.
Tavener podcast.
Yeah, I was going to say, bloody hell. Some sort of cultural reference there from Tavs. Good Lord.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often, does it?
Oh, dear.
Right, so we'll have Hampton again, possibly on a Tuesday night, one would imagine. You have to rearrange it, within 42 days, isn't it? So it'll be pre-Christmas, one would imagine. But of course, if we both manage to go out for trophies Saturday, we'll have a free Saturday in middle of December. We can arrange
That's
it
the spirit, Tavs. That's the Tavs we know. Yes, bravo. Bravo. Good dance.
Right, let's look forward to a match that is going ahead, possibly. Saints versus Bishops. We got rid of the Angels last Saturday. Saturday, we're away to Bishop Stortford from National League North in the FA Trophy second round. FA Trophy, Lee, you'll remember this. Saints
Look at
going to
that.
Wembley.
Oh, mate, don't. That's still, oh, mate.
Semi-final, 1999. It still hurts. Of course it does. Even the FA Cup win 2 years ago doesn't wipe that one out. But we're not playing them. We're playing Bishop Stortford Saturday. Terrific run of consistency for them. 1 draw and 10 defeats in the last 11 games. So what could possibly go wrong?
Quite a bit. Now you've
Plenty,
said that.
yeah, I was going to. Yeah, plenty. Where do you want to start?
Well, I mean, it's nice to have a nice northern fixture, isn't it? That's a great thing to start with. Second of all, yeah, they're in terrible form, aren't they? What, second bottom of the National League North? 13 points. A team that has gone through a lot of changes already this season, a lot of turnover of players. It's all teed up, isn't it, for, well, we know what. But if there's any fixture, surely, that you want to try and get yourself out of a slump like this, especially after having last night postponed, surely this is it. You know, a winnable game. I'm trying to think of positives here. Help.
Well, I'll give you a definite negative in a minute. Sorry, Lee. One player in particular. You can talk about him, Lee, when I come on to him. It's funny, I was looking up Stortford and the manager, Steve Smith, who also the owner, and his quotes after they got promoted at the end of last season: "We're looking forward to playing National League South. Some big teams coming in it, Torquay, Yeovil. We're looking forward to these games and blah, blah, blah. We're going to go there. We're not going to win it. We're going to hold our own mid-table, that sort of stuff." And there they are in the north. Straight away, you know that's a disaster, and it's turned out to be a disaster for them. You've got to feel for the club. If it had been us, which it could well have been, we're at the bottom of the M1, we'd have not quite done so bad, you like to think, but the way we're going at the moment, you do wonder. The name I was going to give you, Lee, to ponder, and he played a big part in our FA Cup defeat against Stortford a few years ago, Darren Foxley.
Foxley, I knew you were going to say that. Yeah, a handy little player. You know, nothing particularly with the greatest possible respect, nothing special, but good engine, good work ethic as well. And he tried, and everyone loves to try, right? But then Jake sort of set us up for failing straight away, because the last time we played Stortford in a cup competition, I thought, there's no way, and it was on TV. There's no way we don't go, and win. It's all set up. We're going to go there, play our game, victorious Saints all over the television, happy days. And then it just comes crumbling down. Just abysmal.
It's about 3 minutes,
abysmal.
wasn't it?
Yeah, but what a 3 minutes. We had that. Yeah. We had that dream, Tabs, for 3 whole minutes. Just poor. But I don't. Yes, we should win on Saturday, no doubt about it. But this is City, and we're in the middle of a little bit of a slump, and they can be as bad as they like, but it's not about them, it's about us. If we can turn up there and apply ourselves correctly, we win. But again, it's just about how our mindset is and how we approach the game, and whether we're prepared to battle as well as play football.
We've played them twice before in the trophy. 1 win for us, 1 win for them, so nothing to go by there. But National League North, am I wrong with this? But people generally consider it to be stronger than the South. It's certainly got some big name clubs in it, but we have at the moment as well. But of course, Stortford aren't an established northern side, so it's difficult to judge them as National League North. But would you say that's fair? It's got the impression of being a stronger league than our one.
That's been the sort of cliche, hasn't it, over the last few years, you'd argue. I mean, the fact that Chorley beat Darlington, was it Darlington 8-0 last night? So there you go. So yeah, it probably is. And that's probably, I wouldn't want to be in Stortford position, to be honest, with all that travelling, let alone having to play in that division with some very big teams. So I wouldn't be shocked if it's a physical game on Saturday, but that should play to our advantage. They're low on confidence as well. They haven't won many games this season. Let's apply ourselves and go out there and play like we know we can from, a month or 2 ago. And if we play the correct football and play it right and just go out there, actually, probably just with a winning attitude, we can probably get through to the next round with a victory.
Yeah, and of course we played a National League North side in the trophy last season, and that went well. Kidderminster Harriers.
Oh God! Cheers, Dave.
we skip over that one, shall we?
Mm.
How seriously should we take the trophy? Because you get the top flight football, they disregard the major cup competitions for some reason. One hopes we're not going to do that, are we?
You like to think not. You like to think not. You know, the fact of the matter is the trophy can rejuvenate, you know, your season. And by God, we need something at the minute. There's this, obviously, you talk about cliches, and old Jacob's ruled out about 10 of them so far in the last half an hour. But the fact is, you know, you want to concentrate on the league. No, not really, because this is the premier non-league cup competition, and you want to go as far as you can. And we've seen in the past, and people will be watching this thinking, "Oh, here they go again, Tabs and Lee on about bloody 99 or what, you know." And it's just, but the thing is, it can really, really inspire and sort of set up the process for a good league campaign after that. You get a bit of momentum, you get a bit of confidence. You're playing teams that don't know what you're all about week in and week out. You're playing something new. So therefore, you know, they might have not done their homework, but we might get a win. And then from that, we might get a win on Tuesday against Western. And then you've got 2 wins on the spin and people feel a bit better about themselves. You know, their chest is a bit, you know, stronger and their shoulders a bit broader and their voices are louder. And then from that, you get a little bit of momentum. And hopefully this is what the trophy can do for us this season.
You'd like a trophy run, wouldn't you, Jake?
I've never really seen one. What are those like?
No.
So,
Bloody brilliant.
Yeah, it would be brilliant. And I think you've got to take this in the right way because it's the first step to building some momentum now. You've got 2 games here, really quite winnable, like Lee says. I mean, I say that now, we'll probably lose both, egg on my face. But you've got to go into both of them with the right attitude and apply yourself. And there's no point making loads of changes to the team. Well, we can't make loads of changes. We haven't got any players. Can't make some changes to the team because I think that just sends the wrong message, first of all. But you've just got to try and those players, you've got to try and get them into a bit of form. I mean, the only thing I suppose we might see Noble make some wide-ranging changes potentially after his response to Saturday. But then, you know, he's now got another training session on Thursday. He hasn't had to play Hampton Tuesday, so a bit more time for him to think, see what he can do. I'd like to see him go with the same sort of front 3 for me on Saturday. But then it's more the question of the midfield and the defence and what he does in there.
Well said, that man. Were you listening, Lee? I've got a feeling off the top of my head, and this could well be wrong, it would be no great surprise. Stortford were the first side to win the FA Trophy, having already won the Amateur Cup. I remember the Amateur Cup was 74. They beat Ilford 4-1. And their captain was Dave Lawrence, who's one of our, is he 3rd, I think, in City appearances of all time? And there he was holding the cup. He scored in the final at Wembley as well. Happy days. And so they've done better than we did with our semi-final appearance. There we go.
I mean, we have to mention well what they lost last night against Tamworth, 2-1 in added time. So again, you know, that lack of momentum they've got. I mean, I'm convinced that Darren Foxley will score against us because I still have nightmares about that FA Cup game. But other than that, I think we've got to go into it really positive. I know we've sounded really positive over the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, we have.
Wait, you mentioned.
Go on.
No, I was just saying, Darren Foxley, the FA Cup one, yes. You go back to Hungerford was mentioned earlier. He was instrumental when they beat us 5-0. And then, of course, we signed him pretty much on the back of that. And yeah, 15 games for us, 1 goal. And for some reason, it just didn't work out. Unfortunately, he didn't shine. But we know what he can do. Sorry, Lee.
I was just going to say, I think this is a vital game for David Noble because the thing is, we went out the cup a bit early. And if we go out of the trophy early again on Saturday, you know, doubts start to creep in. And then you're going into Western game, you're going to have to win that game, aren't you? You know, because the thing is, the rot is really set in. There's nothing else to play for apart from the league. And if you're underperforming in the league, you better hope that you're at least putting together a good trophy run in order for you to sort of keep spirits up. But if we go out on Saturday, it is just the league, bar the smaller county cups tabs. I'm not, not it's concerning them, but the fact is the matter, we need this result. We need this result and 2 or 3 more like it over the next sort of few weeks just to kickstart our season again.
Totally agree. And Western, another side that's not in form, 1 win in 7. Right, they thrashed somebody, Hengrove Athletic in County Cup 9-0 last week. But in the league, they are struggling, out of form like us, like Tonbridge were. So should be ideal to rebuild ourselves, you'd have thought. And on the back
prediction
of
time then.
Yeah, prediction time. Go on then. Bishop Stortford.
3-0 Saints.
Oh my God. 1-0 Saints. For some reason. I don't know why.
Well, I've gone 2-2. Simple reason being because the FA, the trophy is another competition they're trying to destroy. So they've taken replays out of it. They've taken extra time out of it. So if after 90 minutes, when Stortford get their 89th-minute equaliser, it goes to penalties, which of course we always win nowadays. So that's not a problem.
Well, we haven't got MJ though in goal.
Oh, we didn't need him. We had Dylan Berry at Dartford, and
okay.
And we had Sam Bentley against Hemels under 12s in the Charity Cup the other week.
12s. Excellent. Right, good stuff.
Western Supermare prediction next Tuesday.
I reckon we turn up for this one. I reckon we turn up, buoyed by our massive trophy win, and we spank Western 4-1.
Oh,
Go on, Jake. Can you match that?
No, I was going to go 3-1, so I'll take that.
Cool. We've got a clean sweep here and convincing as well because I've gone 2-0. Yeah, we look forward to having more egg on our faces next Wednesday.
What do we know?
I mean, I can't believe after all the negativity in this podcast, we've now predicted so many wins. It's absolutely ridiculous. Yes. I would have to say one prediction we got right last week. We did say Shaun Shields would score. So there we go. That's one positive. Oh God. I suppose on that note, unless we have anything else to add.
Well, Shaun Shields. I'm glad you mentioned that. One of the blokes I was standing next to Saturday, John, he said, look at that, Shaun Shields didn't celebrate his goal. Very muted. Respect for his former clubs. He had 108 games for us, 21 goals. But then I look back.
He was just knackered, wasn't
he? His hat-trick for us against Bedworth back in whatever season it was, 10 or 11 years ago, and a hat-trick against Ashford in the FA Cup as well. And it's just the same then. He is old school. When he scores his goals, there's none of this childish over-top nonsense which all sides do now, including us. Well, not that we can remember them. And he's old school. Okay, I've got my goal. Come on, let's get back. Let's get this game going again. Well done, Shaun.
Is Shaun now added to your list of favourite players? Growing by the week, that list.
Yeah, he's just behind Glenn McConnell now.
But then McConnell's ahead of everyone. So.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if you have anything you want to comment on or ask us about or tweet to us, it's a Podful of Saints on Twitter. You can also comment in the comments on YouTube below. And I think on that note, on that very positive note, full of the joys of Saints, we will speak to you again next week after we come back with 2 victories and we're through in the FA Trophy. So we'll speak to you again next week. Up the Saints. Bye-bye, everyone.
Cheerio.